happened today and tomorrow. Well, the first great event that happened today it kind of is about me, but then again, it's one it concerns me in one, and it concerns me in the other because if that's how I got here, the one tomorrow, and then concerns me today is how my son got here. So today my wife served me with papers for a motion to divorce, and so it's a restraining order for a mutual restraining order that if we had any property or whatever, we can't do this, we can't do that, and not harass one another and this and that and other about property. I thought that's what was just about a plain simple restraining order. No, it was just concerning that. And she put in there that we're not compatible, we just ain't working things out, blah blah blah. I don't know how she found the time to do it, but she did it, and I'm happy for her. She seems to learn a lot of stuff in prison. I mean, there's a lot of free things you can do in prison, and she seems to be working with a construction imaging company, something other, model interior type of stuff, and she seems to be doing pretty well. I hadn't really embarked on seeing how well she's doing because that's really none of my business. I consider it none of my business, and she'd probably tell me that too. So she's the one that filed a motion for divorce. I guess a motion. Um, what do you call that? Complaining divorce, motion divorce, whatever. Her own self. She has no attorney representing her in it. So like I don't have to answer to it, but the and she filed it through some papers and everything in the circuit court. Um, the judge signed off on it and everything, and stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll go online and get the answers papers. And fortunately, it's without children because our son is grown now. And so she did a good thing on that. I'm proud of her because I really I tried it before and I really didn't want to go through with it because my son was pretty young at the time. I own property, and so there's something with that. I forgot how all that was, but there's a lot of detail in it. But so I'm kind of glad on her part that she's the one that kind of engaged it and everything. And I told her, I found her number and everything. I told her in text. I said, well, hey, good for you. Glad you did that. And I said, I'm going to answer yes. Don't worry. That way you can get on with your life. I get on with mine, and we'll just be done with it. She was in prison for 17 years, and she's been out for getting on a couple years now. And this coming October should be out 2 years. And so I'm like, okay, great. And so I was really happy to see all that, and because it was just a thing of when we first got together, me and my wife, things seemed like they're pretty cool, but go to find out um, that through her parents and everything, or well, her mom and everything, and her stepfather, uh, what she'd been through and everything, and I really feel sorry for what she went through and all that stuff. And but out of that though, she has a lot of anger and resentment build up. And there were good times we had, and there were bad times too, and I enjoyed the good times. As a matter of fact, I had a dream about her for particular reasons and things. After I got the letter and I read through some of it, I studied it out a little bit, and then I fell back to sleep and I started dreaming about the skull guys. Here we go. So, anyway, it was in my dream, she's exactly what I want her to be. But I'm still apprehensive that she's not going to be the way I want her to be. But, that's just the way it goes with dreams. Dreams are just dreams. But, in that regard, in that case, you know, I'm glad she wants to move on. I'm glad she's got a good job and everything. And she sent an expense report and everything. I'm like, I didn't need to know all that. I don't need. We don't have any kind of property together. I don't need to know what you're making. They don't need to know what you pay for rent, which is a lot of money, and stuff like that. But I guess when you don't own stuff and you don't have to pay taxes, that that kind of comes into play too. And there are a lot of times I'd rather when I got to pay taxes and all, when I got to pay insurance, it adds up to more than that almost. But what she pays for a month to rent her place, that's like it's gotta be like $24,000 a freaking year. It's a lot of money. But I'm glad I'm not in that situation no more with her. Um, there's parts of her I really love. There's other parts of her that I really don't like. And she just seems to be really narcissistic. I'm not saying that I'm not to blame for a lot of this stuff, but we haven't had any kind of contact, physical contact, in 19 years. Probably getting on. Let's see, that would be 20, no, 18, 19 years since my son's about 4 years old. And of course, I raised my son after she went to prison and moved here a year and a half later, and so my mom helped me out with that and everything. Speaking of my mom, my mother, tomorrow, it's her birthday. I got her a card and all that fun stuff, Gotta love your mama. Got her a nice little card and stuff like that. From son, love Butch, all that fun stuff. The card smells really nice. I told my son, I said, don't forget, tomorrow's your granny's birthday. He just now texted me, I know. But, I want him to appreciate his grandma. Even though she gets wild sometimes, my grandma is like one of those hippie women. She's not really a hippie, but she's, she's into, okay, why don't you go back in there? It must be the rain, the humidity or something. She's into motorcycle, she's into motorcycles now because of her current man. Oh gosh. Oh crap. I think I messed up this envelope. But anyway, the man she got now was around whenever I was a little fella for just a short time, and this is 35, close to 40 years ago, and he was a young kid at that time, and my mom was an older woman, But anyway, they kind of came across each other about 8 years ago after her husband died, and he's been with her ever since. And they had like a ceremonial type of thing, a few years ago, and ceremonially married. And they're not really married, but they're ceremonially married. They're not legally married. But anyway, because I don't think I can go through that again. My mom's been married quite a few times. I'm not going to say how many, but a lot. But I'm really appreciative of my mom, even though she gets kind of weird in some things, and she gets naggy and fussy and everything else. I see a lot of myself in my mom. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of things about me that are more my mom than my dad. My sister acts a lot like my dad, and I really do miss my dad. He's been gone for, this coming July will be 11 years that my dad passed away. June that he passed away. So really miss my dad. Kind of feel bad in a lot of ways that I wasn't there for him him like my sister was for like 6 years, if that's calling my sister being there for him. But my sister helped take care of my dad, and then my grandparents, Nana, my grandmother, and then she passed away. So but my mom, though, if it wasn't for my mom being who she is and everything, and trying her best to take care of me and my sister, she had already had a daughter that passed away years before. a couple years before, after I was born and before my sister was born, and she passed away. My sister Denise, by another dad, of course, but and it's something she don't like to really talk about too much. But me and my sister both know that we had a sister and everything, even though we can't remember that. And she was somewhat in Virginia and stuff like that. And then she was in South Carolina. But it's just that my sister, even though I can't remember, and for me, both my sister, my younger sister, she's always been a part of our life because my mom made a point to like name things after her and stuff like that, like a password or something like that, or something that she liked and enjoyed or whatever. And and also my niece, my oldest niece, is named after my sister, Denise. And the weird thing is too, my wife, that was her middle name. And another weird thing is my niece's stepmother is named Denise. Like really weird, you know. So Denise is a very famous name in my family because of my sister. And so my mom had always had made sure that we knew that we always had a sister, up in heaven. And if it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be going to church. I wouldn't have been going to church at all, And me and my sister were made to go to church. We had to get out from her hair and get away from her for a while. She needed some time alone, so she would send us to church and everything, which was right down the road from where we lived in Alkaloo, South Carolina. And boy, the testimony I can tell about that. Whew, that would be a long story. And it's living there back in the 80s, late 70s and early 80s, that Gen X period. The crazy things me and my sister did, climbing trees, digging holes, and doing Gen X type stuff. Um, it's just too much to tell you the truth. Oh, I got another thing too. I got to use. My mom is a fan of Reese Buttercups. Because of her, I learned to love Reese Buttercups. I love, and I want so much to break into this thing and just. But I want this to be for my mama, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna break into it. I want it so bad. I want the chocolate. I want it. I want it so bad. But I'm not gonna do it. But I'm like, I might have to come over for a few days afterwards because I don't want her to eat them all up because it's not, she shouldn't be eating them all up anyway. So anyway, oh, I got myself a candy bar. I forgot about that, and I drank most of my drink. Dang on it. I got myself a Snickers. But my mom's great. She gets aggravated and frustrated and flustered. She's general anxiety disorders out sometimes. She gads out, and we used to drive her crazy. But in the older times, in the older years, she seems to be, she's got like an entourage of people that follow her everywhere because she's part of a riding club or a riding club or a motorcycle. No, it's RC. And so she has a lot of people that just flock around her, and she did when she was younger. And she partook and participated maybe with things she shouldn't have when we were younger. But me and my sister made the same mistakes. And when the chips were really down, my mom's always been there. And when we have problems and stuff, even as adults, my mom was always there. So she still is. If she's got it, she'll nag about it, she'll complain about it, but she'll do what she can to help us. Even as adults. And so, sorry. She's always helping my sister My sister is 50 years old, and she has two grandchildren. My sister, and so that's two great grandchildren from my mom. And I think my niece, my second youngest niece is my second oldest, sorry, niece is pregnant, I think. So she's going to end up having a third great grandchild. Plus, my sister's going to have a third grandchild. So I'm still in the wings waiting for my grandson or granddaughter. But I don't want to rush my son. But my nephew, my son, my sister's youngest child, well, second youngest child, he's had two boys. So, but anyway, my mom has been on this earth, and she's gained a lot of wisdom, and she don't mind telling you because I know shit, I know stuff, and your mama's been around for a while. Yeah, I know you have, mom. You don't have to keep reminding me. But she's been through the life. She's been through hard knocks. You know, she's been through marriages that most of the time in those marriages after my dad, she had it out with my dad before my dad was abusive and when he drank. But whenever he got older, she got older, he wised up. Both of them tried the best they could, even though they were divorced, co-parenting us. You know, and I gotta, I gotta give that to my mom and my dad. They even when we got older, and some things were kind of a little late in life for us, when they should have been there together. They did the best they could do as friends and helping us grow. And my dad was involved from time to time, and sometimes he kind of get a little drunk, and so he sometimes he came over, sometimes he didn't, and he was always friendly to my mom's other husbands and boyfriends, and they got along really well. And he would come and help out as much as he could and things. He's taught me a little bit of stuff, and not a whole lot, but my dad, but mostly my grandfather, my step grandfather. But anyway, my mom tried to do the best she could. I mean, she had a tax business and stuff like that. Still does, actually, technically. She does bookkeeping. So she knows her stuff. She's always had a tax business, and my sister kind of took over that for a while. And my sister kind of, in a way, has a kind of combination with my mom and her. And my mom does a lot of bookkeeping. Because of the club she's at, she does a lot of the bookkeeping type of stuff, spending money and all that stuff. She's always been good like that. You know, she started out working at H&R Block, so did taxes and stuff. She's done taxes, those kind of things all my life, financial stuff all my life. My mom's got a head for figures. She can figure stuff out, and that's where my sister gets it. And I'm proud to say my niece, my oldest niece, she's a lot like that too. She's worked things. She's very smart and intelligent. Um, uh, she's a pharmacy tech. My niece is my oldest niece, 33 years old. I mean, that girl's smart. Not 33, 34, but single. Single as in not with a man, and not single as in with another person, partner, and Maddie. But anyway, you know, my mom is she's always been there for us, and if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for her to get us going to church or and stuff like that, me personally, I probably wouldn't have the relationship I do with the Lord right now. And even though that's not perfect, but I thank God for where it is right now. I thank God for my mom, and something happens to my mom, she passes away, it's gonna hurt. and stuff like that. And we're always talking about, well, who gets this, who gets that, and other, whatever, blah 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 blah. Don't do this, don't make sure so and so gets whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but let's. She's so lively and everything. For 78, she'll be 78 tomorrow on the 22nd. And then after that, my youngest niece's birthday comes. My sister's youngest child, her birthday comes. I think she'll be 18 tomorrow. I think she'll be 18. I'm not sure. Is that right? 17 or 18, something like that. But yeah. So she looks just like a mama. But anyway, my middle niece, she acts just like my sister, and actually her great grandmother, which is my grandmother, she acts like her too. My grandmother passed away though, but I mostly have the features of my mother. If you see my face without a beard and mustache and all that stuff, whatever I got on my face, then you put a wig on me, I look just like my mama. We are so matched in as far as features and everything. I mean, there's things about me that look like my dad, but I got a lot of features. My grandfather, so does my mama. So I look a lot like Buell Rakes, and I look a lot like Bonnie, and but I also look a lot like my dad. And my mom's like, I don't see it, I don't see it. I'm like, oh, dude, I look like my dad. I see things in me that look like my dad. But anyway, I'm just really thankful for my mom because she has put up with me for the past 53 years. She had me when she was 25 years old. Well, almost 25. 27, I think. No, not 25. She's 24, 25, somewhere in there. Yeah, 24, I guess, whatever it is. She had me as a young woman. Okay? She already had a child before, and then she had me, and then she had my sister a couple of years later. And my sister, wow, oh boy, at least she used to be. But as far as groups of people hanging out, entourages, my sister and my mom are good for that. But my sister, like I said, acts more like my dad, but has entourages with her. My mother is she just has people gathering around her all the time. She don't turn nobody away. My mom has always been good to people. She's got that civil, kind nature toward people, and she tries to give people a benefit of the doubt, and that's what I take away from my mom. I guess my good. I try to be good hearted. I don't know if I am good hearted, but if I get anything from anybody, I think that's the way the Lord used it to use my the genes of my mother. I don't know if it works like that. I'm not quite sure. My dad's kindness when he wasn't drinking, and my mom's good heartedness, which he was kind too. I think that's what drew them together. And at first, and my dad had a lot of stuff going on from being in Vietnam and stuff like that. Shell shock, and of course, uh, my dad was always a manual worker because he grew up on a farm. They planted the rack tobacco and stuff like that. And my mom, she grew up in Virginia. Um, she was born and raised in Virginia, and then eventually she moved to Connecticut with my grandfather and everything, my grandma, and had to work. Both my grandmother and my grandfather were born and raised in Virginia, my mom's parents. And so whenever she got older, a little older, they would move to Connecticut because that's where work was. My grandfather, he made shine with his dad. So if you ever seen that movie Lawless, and they talk about Charlie Rakes, well, they got that name from one of my ancestors, and he wasn't nothing like what they showed there. He wasn't no Yankee or whatever what you want to call a Yankee. He was definitely Southern. He was from Virginia, and Charles Rakes my grandfather's ancestor. That's where he came from, and they were into. I don't think Charles Rakes was my ancestor was, but my grandfather and his dad they made shine, and my mom told me stories, and even my grandma told me stories about being in the back of a car running away from the revenuers or police or whatever it is, and they had some shine, and my granddaddy was taking all these curved roads on the side of a mountain. And boy, tell you what. Also, my grandfather is related by marriage to the Woods brothers, race car Woods 21 brothers. I think one of the Wood brothers married his sister, my granddad's sister, and we have a cousin by her, by them, and she's half Rakes, half Wood. So um, I don't know if she particularly is in with racing or has any interest in it. I don't think so, but it just seems that she knows more about that side. But yeah, we're related to the originators, those who started woods racing, because my grandfather uh, and his brother-in-law, Wood Lane Wood, they hung out together, and they'd take lawnmowers and soup them up and make them into like kind of race car go kart type of things. They loved to race, and that was the origination, the beginning origins of NASCAR, and other people did that too. It wasn't particularly that my grandfather did it or whatever that he started or originated it, but he knew people and he stuck around those type of people that kind of brought up what would become NASCAR, you know. So anyway, it was pretty cool. So anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's the type of family my mom comes from Stewart, Virginia. Um, and if you look at Woods Brothers, that's where they come from, Stewart, Virginia. Stewart, Floyd, Woolwine, Charity, Patrick and Henry counties, um, that area. So we got family members who were involved in NASCAR from the very beginning, and also moonshine. So anywho, my mom is a great person. She's a warm-hearted person. She's kind. She she judges more on us than she would anybody else. She sees her kids and she's like really scrutinizes us as her kids. But at the same time too, there's times when she's just really warm-hearted and likes to help and do things. She's not so much on her grandchildren. She's not hard on her grandchildren. She's more hard on me and my sister than she is her grandchildren. Even though we're adults, we're in the range of having our own grandchildren. Which I ain't got none yet. But I'm not gonna rush my son on that or his girlfriend, that wife. And so anyway, I love my mom. I'm glad tomorrow's her. Well, I'm not glad because she's getting a year older, and it just seems like her birthday is just kind of coming and coming and coming. And she's 78 now, and next year she's gonna be 79. Then she'll be 80, 81, 82, 83. But I'm glad to see though, for her age and all the things she's been through, and all the surgery she had and stuff. She had some kind of thing done with her back, and she has to recharge something in her back or something other time. So I forgot what it was. And it helps her a whole lot. And the things that she's went through and all that, she's pretty spry. She don't look nothing like 78 years old. Of course, she does dye her hair too. She's got that. She's got. If you see my face, like I said, if you see my face without all this stuff on it, that's a little bit more wrinkles, not as much. That's the face my mom has. She has my face. I have her. Rather, I have her face. Let's just say it like that because I came from her. So she looks pretty young, considering that she's 70. She'll be 78 tomorrow. She don't look 78. She don't look like what a 78-year-old woman looks like. She don't act like what a 78-year-old woman looks like. Actually, should act like. And I think God and by His grace that He's kind of, even though my mom smokes and when she shouldn't be smoking, she went 10 years without smoking, living here in Tennessee. Matter of fact, around people, a lot of people that do, and she picked it back up, and now she's like it's hard to quit because her man and my aunt that lives over there. Well, she wasn't really my aunt, but she kind of I grew up around her and everything. She used to babysit us and everything, and I called her Aunt Jackie, so to me she's my aunt. Um, she used to babysit us. Um, they smoke, and so it's kind of hard for her to quit. So, but still, like I say, by the grace of God, my mom is hanging in there, and I don't want to get to a point where my grandmother had Alzheimer's or dementia rather, and she kind of forgot stuff, and she always called me her brother. Well, hey, bruh. I said, Nan, it's me, Butch. I'm your grandson. Oh yeah, I knew that. I knew that. And everything. And then she got real bad. She just, and I prayed that my mom don't get like that, and so. She's scatterbrained. I get scatterbrained from my mom. I forget stuff, but that's not dementia. That's not Alzheimer's, and she hasn't been. She don't seem to have that at all. I hope to God she don't get it and everything. But if at this age, she's like I said, she's 78, going to be 78, and she's hanging in there. And it seems like people at around about that age, a little bit younger, start getting it. And everything. I could be wrong. Don't feel like answering that. I don't know who it is. I've been getting freaking calls, y'all. I've been getting calls, and nobody freaking answers. Nobody answers. I guess they want me to say something so they can record my voice, and I'll just sit there for a minute. I'll listen. And then I'll hang up. I was like, golly, give me a break. Quit calling me because it might be an important call. It might be something from somebody else that I really need to take. And it's like a area code and the prefix is about the same. So I'm thinking somebody's calling me from town. I'm thinking somebody's calling me from like I was trying to get some answers on what I should probably do as far as giving an answer to my wife from the lawyer's office or something else maybe regarding another job or something. I don't know. And I got all these dang people calling me and stuff. It's like I'm thinking somebody important and nobody answers the freaking phone. So I'm just going to stop saying anything and let them answer first. Say something first. But anyway, yeah, I'm a master of disguise. This thing here says hi. What you doing? Hello, are you master of disguise? LOL. Okay. But again, Mama's going to be 78. Then my niece has a birthday after that. But I thank God for my mom. I think I don't see her as much. We live like a mile or so apart. I came here because she was supposed to help me out and everything, and I got this house I'm in, and I really don't like it. But I'm appreciate. I do appreciate it, but I really don't like it and everything. You should be thanking God you got a house because you could have had nothing. You probably wouldn't have had nothing in South Carolina. I said, I don't know. Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have if I stayed. Maybe I would have. But if it wasn't for us doing whatever I done now, making a decision to move here because of my mom's behest, so you could come over here, I'll help you out. And that man, that just seems like eons ago and stuff. But it worked out for the best too at the same time because I was really missing my mom. She had been here since '98, and it was 10 years later that I moved here. And so anyway, and I moved from my dad, and I really just should have. I don't know. In a way, I wanted to stay, but I had to work at the same time too. I was doing security then. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm just thankful for my mom right now, and all the things she's done or try to do to try to influence me to become the person I think that God meant for me to be, even though it wasn't always a direct influence. It was an influence in some fashion or form, even though whenever we were children, she got us going to church, me and my sister. Like I said, to get her out of her, get us away from her, and give her some time and peace, and to kind of do whatever she was going to do, or maybe even clean up the house or whatever, or go out and party. I don't know what it was, but if it wasn't for her doing that, I probably wouldn't be in the relationship I am with the Lord right now. Maybe he would have used something else in my life, but he used my mom in that regard, I think. And so the influence he had on me in that, or the direction he had on me in that, is the direction I had on my son and everything. So I see how he does things and going to church and everything. Wednesday he's supposed to bring another sermon, and I'm really happy about that. I'm going to record it. He might not want me to, but I'm going to record it anyway. He'll have to get over it. I'm very, very proud of him. I'm proud of where I think the Lord's leading him. There's some things I just kind of find ridiculous about certain things. I'm very cynical. I don't try to be a bigot about it, and if I ever am, I don't try to be. But just the way that some churches act, and stuff like that, traditional stuff, and the Bible really doesn't say certain things on that. I'm very specific. I'm very centered on God's word, being in the authorized version, King James Bible, and so is my son. But he understands, and I do too. There's some people going. I'm not going to go to the King James Version Bible, and we don't judge him for that. And but it seems to me that people who really truly want truth, who really want that one Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in their life, are going to go for the one Bible, because there's one Word of God. Therefore, there's the one Word of God. That's Jesus Christ. Therefore, there has to be the one and only written Word. You know. But anyway, neither here nor there. If it wasn't for what I grew up under with my mom and everything, and the influence she had on me, it wasn't so much about you need to go to church, you need to go to church, or nothing like that. It's just that she got judgmental, especially when I was looking into Jehovah's Witnesses. But I got out of that. I really did. I mean, with a quickness, as they used to say. I got out of that with a quickness. I seen where that was going. I got away from it, and I got it going to other churches and stuff. My mom say, "Oh, they had like a bunch of Mama, you ain't even been there. What are you talking about?" But anyway, she was. I think it's because of her. She sees my faith and everything, and it's not perfect. She gets mad sometimes because she feels like I'm being judgmental and not supposed to do that, and stuff like that. And I don't try to, but she sees that in me and everything, and I guess in a way she's proud. At the same time, too, she wants to keep me in check, that I'm not supposed to say and do those things which kind of concern her, about her smoking or about whatever else, and doing whatever she's doing, and I don't know. She thinks I'm judging her at times, and I'm not. And so she's very skittish about that. And so and all in all, she's all proud of me and stuff, and things of that nature, and that I'm not wild, and I'm not into drugs. I don't drink, because I seen it happen with my dad. I seen what it did with him, and so I try to raise my son in the same fashion. The generational curse was broken not by me so much; it was broken by my dad, because my dad said, "Don't let me ever see you smoking marijuana, cigarettes, and drinking. I don't want to ever see you do that." Of course, I did. I tried it and everything, but I didn't let him see me do it. And so my dad could get very irritated at times. He'd get very frustrated, and he'd get very fussy. And but other times he let us know. He more so with me than he would with my sister. He was kind of gentle with my sister. But I think he tried his best to do what he could whenever he had us, whenever we went and done things with him, and especially when I got older and I was living with him, me and my son too. I think he tried his best to be the best dad he could, because there was times when he could have been his best and he wasn't. So it kind of came a little late. But anyway, he tried. But if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for him and my mom meeting, I wouldn't be here. Neither would my son. So, or my sister. So, we work with what we got, and they work with what they got. And so, life gave them lemons, they made lemonade. My mom and dad did, whether they were together or apart. They did the best they could do, regarding the situation at the time. And so that's what I'm doing with my son. I'm doing the best I can do with the situation at the time. And like I said, and especially with my wife, I'm glad that she sent me divorce papers. Pretty much, summons for divorce. I am so glad, because that I feel, even I'm not divorced yet technically, I still feel the freedom that I could probably have in that, because I've been so locked away, and I'm like, I don't want to get out here and find somebody else, or try to find somebody else, knowing that I am still married. I mean, and really, I never really was part of her life but only for a short time. It seems like, and she never really was a part of my life, just for a short time, off and on, off and on, off and on. And it consisted of, oh heck, what was it? 5 years, 5 years of what? And then 17 years later, um, she's in prison. She after 5 years she went to prison. And that's 5 years is pretty small, a small window. And then 17 years later, it was about 22, 23 years altogether. It's come to this. You know what I mean? She has spent the last she has spent what? How would you call that? She has spent most of our marriage and the time that she was a mother in prison. A good bit of that time has been in prison. She has spent 75% of the time, over 75% of the time, as a mother, as a wife, in prison for being stupid, you know? And all I tried to do to her was try to do good to her. And I wasn't perfect at it. And she's just really narcissistic, really bad. And she doesn't understand empathy. She chooses to be hard, even on herself. But I'm glad to see that she's doing great now. She has a great job. But at the same time, too, my mom has always been empathetic toward people, and that's the way I was raised, to try to do good to other people. And my wife didn't really get that. She never understood that. She never understood that people out there could care for her and love her, because I think what it is that she's been through some bad stuff in her life, and I can't fault her for being hurt about that. I really can't. But the way she goes about it, and the way she deals with that pain and hurting other people when she did it, um, and trying to hurt me at the same time, and even hurting her own son. But she wants to have a relationship with him, but it's got to be on my son's terms, because she just don't get it. She don't want to get it. She don't want to understand. That she thinks is about what can benefit her and everything. And her relationship she could even possibly have with my son is kind of based on uh, her reality, not my son's reality. Let's just say it like that. And I don't care if she don't want to have a relationship with me, but I still love her. I still care for her. I always will. But my mom had always taught me, you know, to stand up for myself and everything. And I always wore my heart on my sleeve, but at the same time, I was very emotional. And my mom knew that. She saw that. And she tried to make me tough. She tried to, and even my dad did at times. She just tried to make me tough. But my dad was a very kind person when he wanted to be. So was my mom. They can be very irritable and frustrated and take things out on me and other times. But when it came around other people, they were kind of nice and their stuff and respectful. And I learned respect from my mom and my dad for other people. But there was these two sides to everything. You know what I mean? But and so that's the way I try to treat my wife, with kindness and respect, love and mercy and compassion, empathy. But she wouldn't have it. She wouldn't have it. She just don't want it. But I thank God, because of my mom, that I was trying to be the best husband I could be, because I seen what my mom went through with my dad and her other husbands and everything, and I was trying, and her other husbands were leeching off of her, and she kicked them out quick, and I participated in one of those. But her husbands always seemed to need her instead of her needing them. And this last time she was married, they kind of somewhat worked it out together. They built a house here and everything. And so, this guy that's with her now and that's been around for a long time, his wife passed away and stuff, and he had like a kid and all that. And, they pretty much taking care of one another. But mom, she's the financial guru. She deals with the money. She knows about the money, and so it's a complex situation. But my mom is still savvy on those type of things, and for a 78-year-old, will be 78. But anyway, I think that's all I'm gonna say on that. And yeah, I just might make this to 47. How about that? In honor of my mom's birthday. But I got her bag of Reese's, got her card. I might stay around there tomorrow. She's probably already got a bag of Reese's. She probably got a crap load of them. So I mean, most of the time, every time I go, well, whenever I go there, she's either got the buttercups, or the king size ones, or she's got a bag that's halfway empty. So I'm kind of contributing to her supply, so she'll have an endless supply. Whether she buys them or I buy them or whatever, my mom's going to be satisfied with Reese's Buttercups, the miniatures, whatever we got here. And that's the way it's always been. Because of her, I've learned to love them. I've learned to love Reese's Buttercups and a couple other things. So I love my mama. Thank God for her that she's got another 70th year in life, and I hope she has many more, even up to 100, if the Lord wills. So anyway, I'm going to end this on the 22nd. That's her birth date. Let's see how that works out. I don't know if that's going to work. But anyway, thank y'all for watching. God bless. Take care. And love your mom and your dad. Give them a hug and kisses.